Hi, cute class. Today we're going to learn to multiply by multiples of 10 using a number line. So first, let's take a look at our objective. Our objective is to multiply a single-digit number by a multiple of 10. Now let's look at our success criteria. How will we know that we have met that objective? Well, first, we'll be able to multiply by multiples of 10. And second, we'll be able to use a number line to help us to multiply by 10. So let's look at some examples, but first, a little review. 3 times 1 equals 3. We've already learned how to do these types of problems on a number line. And when we talked about this in class, we learned that the times means the same as jumps of. So I could read this number problem again, and it could say 3 jumps of 1 equals 3. Let's look at it on a number line. First, we start at 0 and take one jump of 1, which gets us to 1. Next, we take another jump of 1, which gets us to 2, and a final jump of 1, which gets us to 3, which is where our answer comes in. Now, let's use what we know to apply it to this problem here, a multiple of 10. So here we have 3 times 10, which is the same as 3 jumps of 10. So we'll start at 0 and we will make one jump, but instead of 1 this time, we're going to take a jump of 10. Our second jump with another jump of 10, which would be 10 plus 10 more would be 20, and a final jump of 10, which would get us to 30, which is our answer. Let's look at these two problems side by side. Our first problem, 3 times 1 equals 3, is similar to our second problem, 3 times 10 equals 30. Let's look at some of the things that are the same. First, we're multiplying both times by 3. Next, we're multiplying by 1 on the first one, and the second one we're looking at 10. Similar to 1, it just has a 0 at the end. And then in our final answer, we have a 3 in both of our answers, and then 1 has a 0, just like it does in the problem. And then when we look at our number line jumps, we're taking jumps of 1 on the top number line, but the bottom number line, we're taking jumps of 10, which gets us to 30. So let's keep these similarities and differences in mind as we're looking at other examples. Here I have the problem 3 times 2. So let's go ahead and take 3 jumps of 2, starting at 0 on the number line. One jump of 2 will get me to 2. 2 jumps of 2 will get me to 4. And the third jump of 2 will get me to 6, which would be my answer. Now, let's look at the problem below. Now we're starting at 0, and we're not going to jump a jump of 2, but we'll jump 20. Then we need another jump of 20, and 20 plus 20 equals 40. And then our final jump, adding 20 more, will get us to 60, which would be our answer. Let's take a look at these two answers that we have. Both of them have a 6 at the beginning, but on the second problem, we have a 0 here in the problem, and then you'll notice that I added a 0 here in the answer. The number of zeros end up being the same in the problem and in the answer. Let's keep that in mind as we look at another. 4 times 6 would be the same as 4 jumps of 6. Starting at 0, our first jump gets us to 6. And then from here, I'm going to have to use what I know about the multiples of 6. So if I were going to skip count by 6, I would start with 6, 12, 18, 24, and I could go on, but I think that's all I'll need. So here I've done one jump of 6. Now I'll add another jump of 6, which will get me to 12, another jump of 6, which will get me to 18, and a final jump of 6, which will get me to that 24, which is my answer. Now, let's look at the second problem. This time, I'm no longer jumping jumps of 6, but I'm jumping a jump of 60. And if I look at the examples from before and look at the problem I have now, I recognize that these numbers here that I see up here are the same numbers that I see on the bottom, except for they have 1 0. So let's take the next jump and use what I know here to know it's going to start with 12 with 1 0. The next one is going to start with the 18 with 1 0. And our final one will start with 24 and have the 1 0. So here, first answer, 4 times 6 equals 24. Here, second answer, 4 times 60 equals 240, following the same pattern as before. Let's look at 2 times 8 together. First, we have one jump of 8, another jump of 8. First one gets us to 8, our second one gets us to 16. Using what we know about the story, or about these problems, 2 times 6 equals 18, or equals 16. So, or 2 times 8 equals 16. I can look at the second problem, 2 times 80, and know that it's going to be 16 with what? You guessed it, a 0 at the end. Let's try an example without the basic fact to help us out. So let's just use what we know about 5 times 3 to help us find this answer. 5 times 3 equals 15. Knowing that the answer is 15 and that I have 1 0 in the problem, how many zeros will I need in the answer? You guessed it, just one. So I believe the answer is 150. Shall we check on the number line just to be sure? One jump of 30 takes us to 30. 2 jumps of 30 takes us to 60. 3 jumps of 30 takes us to 90. 4 jumps of 30 takes us to 120. And 5 jumps of 30 takes us to 150, which is the answer. Looks like we got it. Let's try the next one. 4 times 5, 4 times 50. But we're going to use a problem 4 times 5 to help us come up with the answer. 4 times 5 is 20, so I can write that in. And then, after the basic facts, I have 1 0. So to my problem, to my answer, I have to add another 0. Now don't be tricked in seeing that we already have 1 0 there, because remember that that 0 is actually the answer to the problem 4 times 5. So the extra 0 has to be added to that original answer. Let's check it on a number line. Starting with our first jump, we're going to do 4 jumps starting at 0, and each of them will be 50 long. One jump of 50, 2 jumps of 50 will put me at 100, 3 jumps of 50 will put me at 150, and my final jump of 50 will put me at 200, which is the same answer I have over here. It's always a great idea to double check. So let's take a look at our objectives again. Our objective is to multiply a single digit number by a multiple of 10. Looking at our success criteria, did we multiply by multiples of 10? Looks like we got it. And can we use a number line to help me multiply by 10? I think we got that one too. Good work, guys.